Over the weekend, Donald Trump decided to dispense with the whole legislature thing and just take control of this whole thing himself. And so he signed a number of executive orders that are helping to make sure that people have money if they're unemployed and that they won't be evicted and all of that. Or at least that's what the story is, because it turns out they don't actually do any of that stuff and they're probably illegal, but he did sign them. So we're gonna look into what they actually did. The first is supposed to be a stopgap solution for the enhanced unemployment benefit that lapsed about 2 weeks ago because our government is the worst. And so he described the memorandum that he signed on Saturday as an action providing, quote, an additional or extra $400 a week and expanded benefits. Okay, so that sounds okay at first glance. We'll go back to that graphic in a second. It's obviously not the 600 that people were getting. It's just 400, which is smaller. I did the math, but it turns out it's actually worse than that. So under Trump's measure, the federal government is requiring states to pick up about a quarter of that. That's $100 of that benefit. So the federal government's contribution will in fact be half of what it once was. On top of that, a state must agree to enter into that financial agreement, paying for a quarter for the unemployed to get anything. And once you bear in mind that many states cannot afford to pay that, or at least are saying that they can't, that means that for many unemployed people, even if this does happen, and we'll talk about why it might not, even if it is legal, they may not be able to get that benefit if their state is so broke that they can't pay the extra $100 a week. So a few holes in this particular one.
Yeah, I mean, John, not only that, it's not just if they're broke, but they could say that just like Medicaid expansion, which was, part of the ACA, and at least 10 states, maybe 12 at this point. I think that it has been changing, but have refused to expand Medicaid, right? Barring hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, from access to healthcare. Not because states are broke, but because these Republican legislatures once again don't believe in any kind of support for the most vulnerable, i.e., keep the sick from dying type legislation, or keep people in their homes during an international pandemic, or at this point, pretty much just an American pandemic, really. I mean, other countries got it under control.
Props to New Zealand for going more than 100 days without any registered community spread of the virus.
Oh, to be a sheep in New Zealand.
I've always said that.
I know you're gonna talk about this, but I think it is very important to understand that this is not a good thing necessarily. It's like, oh great, Congress couldn't come to a decision. Let's give this a bunch of really important measures to the most corrupt administration maybe ever. Cool. Yeah. Remember those stimulus checks sent to dead people? Give it to those guys. They'll be able to handle this.
Yeah, and it's good. I'm glad that you pointed that out. The issues with the initial round, and that was the simplified, expedited system designed to be easy to spool up fast and get checks to people, and still took forever. And a lot of people didn't get them, but they did their best, I guess. With this new system, it has the downside of being a new system, which means that right now you're not getting that enhanced unemployment. Even once they actually try to put this into effect, we don't know how many weeks it'll take to be set up or what lag after that people will have before they start getting the checks. You could be half a month or longer of not getting that assistance. And when you have to pay rent, that's important. And we'll be turning to that in just a minute. Additionally, Trump's ability to provide enhanced unemployment and require states to do that. I like the idea that if not the amounts or the distribution, I'm with him in terms of the goal. But legally, apparently people who do law has to do with unemployment. They're saying they have no idea how there's any legal provision for the president to do that through an executive order, not through legislation. So a lot of what we're talking about today will probably end up just being thrown out in court before it can even theoretically help people a little bit. But I did want to play one thing that sort of frustrated me. It gets to the amounts that he's decided on, because remember, he's just coming up with this himself. So hypothetically, he could have done 600 or 900 or whatever. He decided on 400, of which only 300 comes from the government. So he was being asked questions during the signing of this over the weekend. And I take issue with the fact that the reporter The premise of the question is that he can do this at all. That's not necessarily determined. But take a look at how he responds to a question about the new lower amount of the assistance.
Sir, why did you decide on $400 when previously families were receiving $600?
Yeah.
That will be a hardship for many. What do you say to that?
Well, no, it's not a hardship. This is the money that they need. This is the money they want, and this gives them a great incentive to go back to work. So this was much more than was originally agreed. The 600 was a number that was there. And as you know, there was difficulty with the 600 number because it really was a disincentive.
Okay, so I mean, I don't know how many times we've gone over that there is no evidence that it's a disincentive, and in fact, multiple exhaustive studies showing that it's not, but they're just gonna keep saying it. And it's not a hardship to cut the aid by nearly 50%. That's what they want. The right-wing populist president is saying they want to be getting less money than they're getting right now.
Yeah, and there's still no plan to rein this virus in at the federal level. Like there's still no plan. I understand we have to ask these questions about, unemployment and all the executive orders and whether it's legal or whether it's not. But once again, it's happening in a context that is only getting worse. So if anything, that $600, just because it's been a few months doesn't mean it goes back to 4. People are still in danger. That should go up to 8. You know what I mean? Like actually we should be looking at more money and not less. I think here's what I've always thought from the beginning of all this, right? That if the Republicans truly wanted to win in November, they would be the sugar daddies for the American. They would be everything that they hate. They would embrace the welfare state, right? That is actually very necessary right now.
Yes.
And say, only we are able to provide, look at the deadlock in Congress. Here you go, I'm gonna give you $700, $800. Just like Trump loved signing his name, as I'm sure he did individually on every single stimulus check. It must have taken a long time. But he wanted his name on that stimulus check. Do the same thing. Be that sort of, right-wing populist that you somehow got into office by duping people into saying that you were. And I think now with this and these executive orders, that's exactly how they're going to be spun in right-wing news circles. The problem is, rubber's gonna hit the road, man. Like if you don't get that money or you are getting evicted, there's no amount of propaganda that's going to convince you that this president did anything else than leave you out to dry. Like you're gonna be out of your home, you're gonna be bankrupt. Like all of those things are actually going to come home to roost, and very, very soon. So there's only so long that right-wing media can play up like, oh, look at how much Trump, Santa, Christmas came early kind of type thing.
Exactly, and especially like all the different caveats that we broke down. I mean, this is designed for headlines, press releases, and campaign ads saying President Trump stepped in and got it done. And they'll never mention that it was far less money. And they won't mention that many states will just deny it. Red states aren't gonna do it. They're just as you said with Medicaid, they're not gonna expand it, so nobody's gonna get it there. And broke states won't be able to do it. So if your state is broke, you're now double screwed because you also won't get this. I mean, and even if you do, God knows how long it'll take before you do. Who will actually end up getting this? I don't know, but it's gonna be a very small percentage of the people who desperately need it. And all of that truth is not gonna end up in the ads, it's not gonna end up in the headlines, and the press releases have already been released.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.